tight storm, not real well organized. There's still a lot of rainfall behind it, so it may not be completely over for Puerto Rico, but certainly the wind is not going to be the big problem here. It's going to be probably the rain, particularly in the mountainous regions. Here's the path of Debby, and as we get toward Wednesday and Thursday, we'll see it move more toward the Bahamas, and still a wide path here where we could see the center come. So we'll keep an eye on it for you, and of course, as it moves closer to the United States, we'll keep a close eye on it as well. Here in the Midwest, we're seeing some stormy weather moving.
Hurricane Debby has center stage as it churns north of Puerto Rico and gains strength. And Virgin Islands officials have declared a state of emergency in the wake of the storm, much more ahead. Residents in Puerto Rico are bracing themselves for heavy rains and mudslides as a result of Hurricane Debby. Coming up, a live report from San Juan. And the nation's midsection and Gulf Coast are dealing with some rain and thunderstorms of their own. Hi, and welcome to this edition of Weather Center, sponsored by American Power Conversion. I'm Christina Abernathy.
And I'm Nick Walker. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at the very latest now on Hurricane Debby. And it is still moving very quickly, as you can see. Its location, 45 miles north of San Juan, Puerto Rico, with winds of 75 miles an hour, makes it a minimal hurricane. It's moving toward the west-northwest at 21 miles an hour, with a central pressure of 995 millibars. Here are the updated hurricane advisories. We have hurricane warnings for the north coast of the Dominican Republic, the Turks and the Caicos Islands, the southeastern Bahamas, and hurricane watches in effect now for northern Haiti, the central Bahamas, and Cuba, at least the northeastern coast of Cuba right now. We want to get the latest now from our hurricane expert, Dr. John Hope. Dr. John Hope, join us now from the expert desk. Tell us what the latest is on Debby.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Nick, and good evening, everyone. Well, the storm center of the storm is now past the Virgin Islands, and it's about due north of San Juan and Puerto Rico. And what we're watching for very carefully here is watching this eye as it appears to tighten up a little bit. That might mean some strengthening right now, although we don't think there'll be very much strengthening tonight. However, as this hurricane the next few days moves on up toward the west-northwest, and by the time it gets into the Bahamas, we expect it to get stronger. It could be quite a bit stronger, so we're concerned about this. We may have a pretty strong hurricane approaching the United States about Friday. Let me show you the latest track on it, the swath, and by Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, it's going to be very, very close to South Florida. We're going to have to watch this very carefully indeed. It's going to stay, we believe, north of the Dominican Republic, north of Haiti, but the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas are going to be right squarely in the path. So what you need to do up in southeast United States is to watch this rather carefully for the next few days, and we'll let you know if this hurricane strengthens. We feel pretty sure it will. We don't know just how strong it's going to get, but certainly it's something that folks around the southeast part of the country are going to want to follow very, very carefully indeed. That's it for this time. Now let's get back to Nick in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, John. Let's take a look now. This is Debby. Up toward the north, we still have another hurricane to talk about, but it is just about off of the satellite picture. That is Alberto. Its location, 550 miles east of Cape Race, Newfoundland, with winds of 75 miles an hour, moving toward the northeast at 28 miles an hour very quickly now, and it looks like it will be extratropical before too long. This, though, is Super Typhoon Belize, and it is having a devastating impact on Taiwan. As you can see, it has moved now across the island, particularly the northern portion of Taiwan, where Taipei is, and that is wreaking havoc in Taipei. As Belize is moving in, it slammed into Taiwan with raging winds that topped 118 miles an hour. Power was knocked out, several residents are stranded, and a construction worker was killed. Residents in Taipei were lining up at supermarket counters for food, flashlights, and batteries in anticipation of shortages, and no doubt we'll continue to get reports in from Taiwan about the devastating impacts there. This is a stronger storm than Hurricane Andrew was. So expected to gain a bit of strength now as it moves back over open water and toward China. We'll be hearing more, of course, from Belize. Now, let's talk more about what's happening in the southeastern United States of Debby there off toward the north, Mike.
We can only hope that the effects here in San Juan are repeated in the southeast, meaning some wind and some rain, and certainly none of the devastation we've seen in recent years with George here, and remember last year in the Carolinas with Floyd and also Dennis. So far, so good here in Puerto Rico. We're in San Juan this evening, and we've actually had some brightening in the skies. We had some earlier rain bands spiral in, and we expect more overnight, and that's why the flash flood potential still exists, especially in the mountainous areas. As we look year, sunset tonight at 6:45, but notice the vegetation barely even moving, winds running at, say, 8-10 miles an hour. We've had gusts up to 25 or 26 officially at the San Juan airport, which, by the way, shut down around midday. Some jets took off. I know we have a flight tomorrow afternoon. So far, it looks okay to return to the lower 48. As far as the coast goes, some big breakers out there around the coral reef, some rough surf inland, but the pools, the beaches, as you may well expect, they were empty today. Everybody's stuck in the lobby here at the hotel, trying to bide their time and looking forward to a better day tomorrow outdoors here in San Juan and across Puerto Rico. Nick?
All right, thank you very much. Mike Seidel reporting live from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Of course, we expect to see Debby intensify somewhat as it moves toward the Bahamas and eventually toward the United States. We'll keep you posted. Right now, let's update you on what's happening in the Midwest with some thunderstorms. Here's Christina. Welcome to Storm Watch. I'm Nick Walker. We have some severe weather reports now in portions of the West, the Midwest, and the South. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but right now it's time for the tropical update. And of course, we want to talk about Hurricane Debby. It was a tropical storm yesterday, became a hurricane this morning, and here is the location of Debby in the scheme of things right now. Its location is 45 miles north of San Juan, Puerto Rico, with winds of 75 miles an hour. It's a minimal hurricane, but still packing a pretty good punch as it moves very quickly toward the west-northwest at 21 miles an hour. The central pressure in Debby is 995 millibars, and here's the location right now as Debby moves to the north of Puerto Rico. We still could see some pretty good amounts of rain around Puerto Rico, and because Debby is moving so quickly and still not having a chance to really get organized into a tight storm here, we're seeing some residual rain behind it, which could affect areas of Puerto Rico over the next several hours. Also, want to update you on the hurricane advisories, including hurricane warnings for the north coast of the Dominican Republic, the Turks, the Caicos Islands, southeastern Bahamas under hurricane warnings right now, hurricane watches for northern Haiti, central Bahamas, and the northeastern coast of Cuba. We also have tropical storm warnings for the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Haiti north of Port-au-Prince. So a lot of areas that we're watching very closely as Debby makes its move toward the west-northwest. As you can see, the projected path here takes it toward the United States via the Bahamas. So a lot of areas could be impacted, a lot of islands could be impacted in the meantime, and it's expected to intensify before it moves closer to the United States. So by the time it does move to the U.S., it could be a pretty big player indeed. We're watching also what's left of Hurricane Alberto. It's still a hurricane, 75-mile-an-hour winds, but very far toward the north, 550 miles east of Cape Race, Newfoundland. It's racing off toward the north-northeast at 28 miles an hour. In the Gulf of Mexico, just a lot of thunderstorms erupting from Florida over to New Orleans, over to the southern coast of Texas. And also, this is Typhoon Belize, a super typhoon. We'll update you on the damage in Taiwan coming up.
Put extra cash in your...
Hurricane Debby has center stage as it churns north of Puerto Rico and gains strength. And Virgin Islands officials have declared a state of emergency in the wake of the storms. Much more ahead. Residents in Puerto Rico are bracing themselves for heavy rains and mudslides as a result of Hurricane Debby. Coming up, a live report from San Juan. And the nation's midsection and Gulf Coast are dealing with some rain and thunderstorms of their own. Hi, and welcome to this edition of Weather Center. I'm Christina Abernathy.
And I'm Nick Walker. We thank you for joining us. Let's take a look now at the very latest on Hurricane Debby. And these are the latest statistics putting the location of Debby at 45 miles north of San Juan, Puerto Rico, with winds of 75 miles an hour. Look how fast it's moving. 21 miles an hour is its speed, off toward the west-northwest, and its central pressure, 995 millibars. We want to tell